Now, in grade 12, we rememorize all the important angles like 30, 45, and 60 degrees that you did in grade 11. And as a result, we're going to do an activity with that. We're going to build unit circles. And some of these questions we're only going to do after we've done that. So for question number 2 right now, we're just going to go and do 2b. So in 2b, it says determine the approximate values of the 6 trig ratios for 586. So we want to find out what is sine of 586 degrees equal to cos of 586 degrees and tan of 586 degrees. Those are your primary trig functions. And then you'll also want to find the reciprocals, secant, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So this is a calculator question because it says to the nearest thousandth. We're going to go to our calculator, and we're going to make sure, on mine I hit the mode button to make sure that it's in degrees. Check on your scientific calculator, how do you switch to make sure that it's in degrees. And then we go sine of 586 degrees, push enter, and it's negative 0.719. We're not doing A until after we've done our unit circles. So we're going to skip A for now. In B, for cos of 586, again, go to our calculator, cos 586, push enter, negative 0.695. I'm going to introduce you to E6 error. If you make an error in rounding, that's an E6 error. So in this one, I had to round up to 5. Okay. Now that we've done those first two, you should be able to tell me which quadrant 586 degrees is in, just from those answers. Quadrant 3. Because both sine and cos are negative. So you could use a CAS rule to see that it's in quadrant 3. You could actually figure it out by subtracting 360 degrees to find out what it's coterminal with. Okay? But just seeing both of those as negative tells us it's in quadrant 3. And then tan of 586. Oops. This should be a positive number then. And it is 1.036. Now for your reciprocal functions, you don't have a cosecant button, you don't have a secant button, and you don't have a cotangent button on your calculator. But since they're reciprocals, you can do 1 over. Some calculators have a nice fraction button. So you can write it exactly like this, 1 over sine of 586. Push enter. Other ones you just have to do 1 divided by sine of 586. You have to be careful in this form because if you have more than one thing, either in your numerator or your denominator, sometimes you have to add extra brackets. But in this case, it works either way. Negative 1.390 to 3 decimal places. Do you know that you would have to write that 0? Okay. Secant of 586. So I would do 1 over cos 586. Negative, oh, this is a good rounding one to 3 decimal places. And finally, cotangent. Yeah, it would be an E6 error because it's not rounded correctly. 1 over tan of 586, 0.966. Couple other things to notice. Does it make sense that if sine is negative, cosecant is negative? That if cos is negative, secant's negative, tan is positive, cotangent's positive. Because if you don't have the 0 at the end, you would be showing that you only know 2 decimal places. So it's a way of being more accurate. Right? This is more accurate than that if you were rounding, right? And so this technically is more accurate than that as well, if they're rounded values. If they're exact values, if you know for sure it's just 2, then you don't need to write, like, the answer is 2. Oh, to 3 decimal places, it's this. Well, that implies that you've rounded, and it's not exactly 2. Yes? No, we don't have to do significant figures for math. On your exam, they'll expect you to round everything to 3 decimal places unless they specify otherwise. So the exam, it's like, I don't know why. Instead of saying round to 3 decimal places, on some questions they don't say round to 3 decimal places. And if you don't round to 3 decimal places, they give you an E6. So I just remind you during your exam in the instructions that if it doesn't say, you have to round to 3 decimal places. Yeah, you can only lose an E error once. So what would you do? First question is like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Rounded is 7. I want to lose that error. Okay, perfect. That is a very bad rounding error. On the exam, you can only get the error once.
So, but what? So if you keep on making the error after you've already made it once, does it matter?
It doesn't matter if you make that rounding error once. So there's 10 errors, so you can lose 5 marks on your exam for errors. That's all right?
Yeah, that's completely fine. That's not a lot. 5 won't matter. 5 won't matter.
Oh, you guys.
After you lose like 85 marks, it doesn't matter.
Oh, all right. Okay. So the only one that I want you to practice for this one is 7B. We're going to do A after we've done our unit circles.
So this is just 7B.
Because A is without a calculator. So I'm wondering right now, if you look at A, can you see that sine of negative 420 degrees is negative root 3 over 2? Still remember that? Okay. Okay. Cos of negative 420 would be positive 1/2. Yes? No? Tan of negative 420, negative root 3 over 3? Yes? No. So we need to review those values because we don't remember them easily. And we have an activity for that, which I do after we finish 6.3. So we've got some time.